Welcome to my podcast, The Government Mechanic. I am your host, Dr. Lynn Sandra Kahn, and I am the Government Mechanic. This is episode 16, Making Government More Efficient. And my wonderful guest is Kathleen Monahan, strategic planner and management consultant, and alumni of the Reinventing Government effort. So we are going to talk about where we started when we learned about doing big change within government, and that's with the Reinventing Government effort. So let's put up our first slide.
There it is.
So Kathy and I met because we were both on the Reinventing Government staff during that time frame in the late 1990s. As you can see on the right, this is Al Gore handing to Bill Clinton recommendations from the Reinventing Government staff, and behind him are forklifts of paper and manuals and policy books that we actually ended up throwing out. I was there that day, which was very exciting. In the middle, you see the Blair House Papers, which after a little bit was kind of the strategic plan in book form. And on the left are the three clusters of goals and priorities. And the first cluster is about great service. The second is about partnerships and community solutions. And the third is the day-to-day work of reinventing government, like cutting red tape and streamlining processes. We've learned not only is it important to write out what your plan is as clearly as possible, it's also important to portray things visually. And so we're going to go to the next slide. This is literally a drawing of a roadmap by Jan Jamil, which we used in the late 1990s as a training tool. You can see across the top the core questions that any transformation has to answer. Where are we now? Where are we going? What does success look like? And what are we going to measure? Kathy, do you want to say anything about this graphic, this roadmap?
No, it brings back actual fond memories and all the hopes, I had for it, like, yay, we're writing something down. We're actually going to do a real plan. It was like very exciting.
Yes. And scheduling a lot of training sessions.
A lot of training sessions, yes.
And using the graphic in that little book, the Blair House Papers, as the tools to educate people about the change. And I think that's really important, that government generally greatly underestimates how much time it takes for people to understand what the changes are. And it's not just hearing about it. It's not just reading it in an executive order. It's actually looking at the details and having time to talk among your colleagues about what that means for your office.
And the impact overall.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, the impact on people when they finally realize what it's going to do for them and help them do their job is like, whoa, I can do that now.
Yes, because a lot of reinventing government was empowering frontline employees to cut red tape, clean up bulky process, rewrite things into plain language. I mean, there was a lot of day-to-day work, and these graphics show that there's trust in the employees, especially frontline employees, to figure out what's broken and what's wasteful. Let's go back to that graphic again. Thank you. As you can see, I think the key elements of any strategic plan are captured in here. It's a drawing. It represents America with coastlines and mountains and plains and deserts and cities and rural areas. So it's representational, it's inclusive. It's also important to have not just something that represents the vision, but a clear statement of purpose. And for reinventing government, it was create a government that works better and costs less. But clarity about the goals and the priorities. And you can write that out in a plan, which that book, Blair House Papers, did, or you can represent it graphically and visually. Vision, mission, goals, priorities, and measures are the key significant elements of any plan for any major change. Kathy, you want to add anything to that?
Well, the thing that a lot of people don't understand when they start talking about measures is, first off, they try to do the measures first and then build up, and they shouldn't. They should start from the top and go down, the other way around. But the other thing is to remember, and I always have to tell people who are not strategic planners who are involved in it, keep in mind what gets measured is what gets done.
Yes. And your go ahead.
In law enforcement is one of the classic areas where you see that, because initially you'll say, well, we should measure how many people we're arresting. No, that's the wrong thing to measure. I mean, you could go out and arrest, Joe Smith on some street corner just to bring your numbers up, and they may have no relevance whatsoever to what's important to what your job is.
I would say that most federal agencies are measuring the wrong thing.
Undoubtedly, yes.
They're not measuring how many homeless vets found housing. They're measuring how many programs got started, how many staff they added. Occasionally, there is some relevance in the numbers of homeless vets. I think is probably a pretty well established. But that's not in the VA strategic plan in terms of numbers and the impact of programs. So measuring the right stuff is going to be part of any change to make government more efficient, because most agencies are measuring the wrong stuff.
Very true.
So I think what we're saying, we can go on to the next slide. I really believe in, since it's an old one and 13 years ago, started 14 years ago, this was a strategic plan for the New York City model of probation. And it had 5 goals: safer communities, more opportunities, resources, and services for people on probation, organizational excellence, strong partnerships, and measuring success. And what's important that what I've learned that's really important is having all the goals and the high level strategies on the same page, so people can take a look at it, one page, one look, and kind of get the whole picture. And if this administration is working to change government as dramatically as they want to change it, they're going to need to put out a lot of documents that need to be written as clearly and simply as possible if they want acceptance. So I think what we're saying is that it's important to start with a clear vision of where you're going, a clear mission statement. What are you doing now? What is your high level purpose? Goals with priority actions, and the measures that will tell you whether or not you've accomplished what you said you would. And that's kind of the essence of a strategic plan. Did I leave something out?
No, you didn't. But you have to be able to go both up and down with that. Like, you start out with your strategies, and then you set your goals, and then you do your performance measures. Then step back, look at the performance measures. Do they actually feed up to the next level? And does that feed up to the next level? So you have to go down and then come right back up again. So it works both ways.
And be available and be ready to have employees, whether it's managers or frontline employees or whoever, walk through that document and talk about it. You can't just put it in their face, front of their face. They have to have the opportunity to talk about it. Anything else?
Now, I was going to bring up that exact same point, which is the input of the people who are actually doing the job is invaluable. If it's done in a vacuum without the people it actually impacts, whether it's the person doing the job or the person impacted by the job, if they're not in agreement that, yeah, that's the right thing to measure, then it's meaningless.
Yep. Well, that's our advice to a new administration on making government more efficient and more effective. And this is our last episode for season 2. We're going to begin season 3 on February 4th with a series of 5 episodes on family law, family court, foster care, medical kidnapping, and parental alienation. They will be a difficult set of issues and interviews and episodes, but I think fitting for the purpose of giving a platform to voices that are almost never heard, like veterans, farmers, people hurt by family courts. So, thank you for listening. Thank you, Kathy, for participating and helping me out. See you all in season 3.